The smell is the first thing. It is always the first thing. Not a smell you have words for yet. Your words for it will come later, after you have learned its different textures, the way it shifts between cold and warm, between fresh and old, between morning and the long hours after noon. Right now, it is simply a presence, something that arrives before you reach the pit, something that tells you where you are before your eyes do. You are below the city, not metaphorically. The rope in your hands is the only thing connecting you to the street above, and the street above is still dark, still quiet, still hours away from anyone who might glance down and register that you exist. You are a gong farmer, and this is the arrangement. You work in the hours when the city does not want to be reminded of what it produces. You work in the hours when no one is watching, and in the places no one is thinking about, and you remove what must be removed so that by the time the city wakes, it can pretend for another day that it doesn't need you. The bucket fills. You lift it. It is heavier than it looks, always heavier, and the rope gives slightly under the combined weight as you climb, hand over hand, and you make a sound on the way up that you have stopped noticing yourself making, a low sound, controlled, the sound of a body doing something it was not exactly designed to do. At first, you think the worst of it is the smell. Most new gong farmers do. You surface. You pour the bucket into the cart. You descend again. The cart has a wheel that drags to the left. You have compensated for this so completely that you now walk slightly wrong without the cart, your right shoulder leading, your body correcting for a weight that isn't there. You don't know this yet. You won't know it until someone points it out and you watch your own gait with a stranger's eyes and understand that the work is already reshaping you in directions you didn't choose. You push the cart through the pre-dawn alley, through the gate, beyond the city walls to the place it needs to go. The farmers come later. Nothing is wasted. Everything becomes something else. You have thought about this sometimes, the long chain of use and reuse that you stand inside, and it is either comforting or horrifying, and which one it is depends on the hour and how cold your hands are. What you don't realize yet in these early weeks is that it is not the smell that changes you. It is the invisibility, the systematic, structural way the city has arranged itself so that your labor happens in its gaps, before dawn, below ground, outside the walls, so that the product of your work is everywhere and you are nowhere. You are the necessary absence. And something in you, slowly, in the way that slow things happen, begins to take the shape of the space you've been given. The fuller's workshop is daylight work. This is what matters to you when the offer comes. Daylight, above ground, air that moves. You take it. The trough is waist-high. The liquid inside is mostly urine, collected in barrels from the households and taverns of the city, fermented slightly, warm in a way that is immediately wrong when your feet find it. The wool arrives in heavy rolls, dense and matted, and your job is to walk it, back and forth, for hours. The liquid works into the fibers while your weight and movement do what your weight and movement are required to do. The cold takes your feet in the first 30 minutes, not suddenly, gradually, the way understanding sometimes comes, sensation becoming approximate, the nerve endings deciding that precision is no longer necessary. You walk on approximations of feet. You stop looking down after a while, because looking down serves nothing. It takes time before you notice the skin. By the third week, the skin below your knees has changed its nature. It is pale in the wrong way, soft at the surface, and somehow hollow underneath, as if something has been removed from inside it. At the edges where the fabric rubs, it peels in thin strips that you find on your leggings at night. You wrap the worst areas in cloth. You sleep. In the morning, the wrappings have done something and nothing, and you step back into the trough because the cloth must be ready, because the merchant comes on Thursday, because Thursday is coming, whether your shins are ready or not. The cough appears in February without announcement. It is a low, wet cough,
Not aggressive, simply present, a passenger that has found the damp air and the hours of close breathing and has decided to stay. By April, you have forgotten that you didn't always have it. By June, it is part of the inventory of yourself, listed alongside the bad knee and the scar above the eyebrow. This is where it changes, though you won't feel the change as it happens. The job is no longer something you do, it is something you are inside of. The distinction between the worker and the work has begun to blur at the edges, and the blur is spreading inward. And one morning you will step into the trough before you are fully awake and realize that your body knew where to go without being told. That morning is coming. You are not there yet. The tannery takes you on in autumn. More money, steadier work. The fuller's workshop was seasonal, unreliable. The tannery is neither. The hides arrive from the slaughterhouses, raw, salted, sometimes still warm at the center, which is a thing you learn quickly not to think about. The lime pit receives them first. It is a sunken vat set into the stone floor, filled with water and slaked lime, and the hides soak there for weeks while the lime loosens the hair and begins the long process of making skin into leather. Your job, among others, is to work the pit, to stir the hides with a long wooden pole, to ensure the lime reaches everything evenly, to lift and reposition when necessary. The lime does not announce itself. This is the thing about the lime pit that takes new workers by surprise. It looks like cloudy water. It behaves like something patient. You work the pole for an hour without consequence, and then you realize in a moment of specific and inignorable clarity that the skin on your forearms is burning. Not cutting, not cold, burning. A slow chemical burn that has been happening longer than you noticed it, that has moved past the outermost layer and found what is beneath it. And the realization arrives not as pain, but as a kind of mild alarm, the body flagging something it has been quietly dealing with without your knowledge. You withdraw your arms. You rinse them in the barrel of clean water nearby. The burning continues for some time afterward.
You have cuts on your hands from the flesher, the curved blade used to scrape the inner surface of the hides, and the lime has found the cuts, and the cuts have found the lime, and this dialogue between them will continue for as long as you work the pit, which is to say, for as long as you work here, which is to say, you do not know yet how long that is. What you don't realize yet is that the cuts never fully close. The lime sees to that. It is a Wednesday. You are fairly certain it is Wednesday, in the second winter at the tannery, and you are working the lime pit alone because the other man is ill and has been ill for 4 days, and the hides cannot wait for him to recover. The pole is long. You use it to work a hide that has settled to the far edge of the pit, reaching across at an angle, your weight forward, your footing on the wet stone around the vat not entirely stable, but stable enough. Stable enough is the threshold you work within. It is the threshold most things in your life are measured against. The stone is wet. You know this. You have known this every day. You compensate for it the way you compensate for the cart with the bad wheel, automatically, below the level of conscious thought, the body managing what the mind has filed away. But your boot finds the patch differently this time. The angle is slightly wrong. The pole has taken more of your weight than you intended, and then the pole finds no resistance in the liquid and goes deep, and your weight follows it forward, and the edge of the pit catches your chest as you go over, and you go into the lime face first. The cold is the first thing, then the burning. The lime is in your eyes before you understand what has happened. It is in your mouth. You surface immediately. The pit is shallow. You find the bottom with your hands and push. But the moment between going in and coming out contains something that most moments do not. It contains the genuine consideration that this might be where it ends. Not a dramatic thought,
not a plea or a prayer, simply a quiet, almost administrative observation from some part of your mind that is watching, that this is the mechanism, that this is the kind of moment that is the last moment for some people, and you do not yet know if you are one of them. You come up, you get out, you cannot see clearly. Someone from the courtyard hears the sound and comes and guides you to the clean water barrel, and you rinse your eyes for a long time, your hands shaking, not from cold, though the lime is cold, but from the thing after fear, the thing that occupies the body when the danger has passed and there is nothing left to manage but what just happened. You can see, dimly, waterlogged, but you can see. You sit on the ground beside the tannery wall for some time, and then, and this is the thing you will carry for the rest of your life without ever quite examining it directly, you go back to the pit, you pick up the pole, you finish working the hide. Because the hide cannot wait, because Wednesday continues, because you are still here, and still here means still working, and there is no third option in the vocabulary available to you. You begin to understand it properly that evening, sitting by the fire with your forearms wrapped in cloth and your eyes still slightly wrong at the edges. This never ends. Not the tannery specifically, not the particular cold of the lime on a winter Wednesday, but the shape of it, the way each day is sealed against the next, no accumulation, no trajectory upward or outward or toward anything that isn't simply tomorrow's version of today. You are not building towards something, you are spending yourself. The conversion runs in one direction, and the only question is the rate. This is not a new thought, it is an old thought that has finally found its proper weight. You eat. The bread is there. Tonight it is enough, and you have stopped arranging your feelings around the difference between enough and not enough, because that arrangement costs something you can no longer afford. Outside, the city does what cities do. Bells, a dog, voices from somewhere that sounds warmer than where you are. You are part of this city in the way that the foundation of a building is part of it, necessary, below the surface, unexamined. You have made a kind of peace with this, or something adjacent to peace, something that looks like it from certain angles. Your hands ache in the place below the bones. You press them flat against the cold floor and hold them there until the heat and the cold find an agreement, and the agreement is not comfort, but it is something. It is enough to notice. Tomorrow the pit will be where you left it. The cart with the bad wheel will pull left. The trough will be cold. The lime pit will be patient, which is the most dangerous thing it is. You will be there. Not because you have decided to, not because you have weighed the life and found it acceptable, but because you are still here, and still here is the only direction available, and you have learned, slowly, in the way the body learns things the mind cannot teach it, that survival is not the same thing as living. Survival is simply the decision the body makes over and over in the absence of any other decision. You close your eyes. The fire settles. You sleep. These lives left almost nothing behind. No names, no records, only the work itself, which outlasted them without remembering them. The world before exists to sit inside what was forgotten, not to explain it, but to feel, for a moment, what it weighed.